going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman. Now, it's been a while since we covered a good old-fashioned Avengers Endgame Easter egg theory here at the channel, but one posted most recently to a Marvel Cinematic Universe subreddit by an eagle-eyed Redditor was good enough in and of itself to warrant covering. Even more so, and interestingly enough, the comments that it spawned were super insightful with a bunch of awesome theories of their own, and more notably than that, the one theory that I think explains them all was not present. We're going to break down this piece of dialogue that took place when Steve Rogers and Tony Stark travel back to the 70s on the base, coming from none other than Peggy Carter, what it implies for what was going on that day, why Tony Stark might have known about this date in the first place, and how it ties together a ton of intersecting theories for the MCU, both past and present, X-Men members Psylocke and Storm, and what we think is a huge Easter egg for the future of the MCU on Disney+. Like I said, we're going to break it all down, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, as well as a whole slew of other Marvel-related stuff, including this insane 1/4 scale XM Studios Beta Ray Bill and our 3rd Infinity Saga box set. If you want to be entered to win any of the prizes, all you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment down below, and if you want, stick around at the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, not that anybody at this point needs any refreshing as to what happened exactly in Avengers Endgame, but in case you do, at the point where they decide they need to travel back in time to the 1970s in order to recover the Tesseract that Loki has now made away with in the middle of their time heist, as Ant-Man would have put it, they encounter a couple of things on this base that both, for each of them, Steve Rogers and Tony Stark hold sentimentality on different levels. Obviously, Iron Man gets to spend more time with his father, trying to resolve an arc that's basically been running since the first Iron Man, coming to full light in Iron Man 2, where for Steve Rogers, the moment is rather fast and bereft of any direct contact with the love of his life, Peggy Carter. Now, in some quick dialogue that has been dissected here at the channel and channels like mine, we hear them say, "They're trying, ma'am, but Braddock's unit has been stopped by lightning strikes." I'll look at weather projections, and then we hear Peggy Carter say these are not lightning strikes that we're looking at. Now, of course, when we focused on this dialogue in the past, we've pointed to Braddock's name, that's the last name of Brian Braddock, none other than Captain Britain, and we thought this was an Easter egg for that. But let me go ahead and read this theory in full, posted by Reddit user CBFW86, and I'll leave a link down below. He goes on to say, in Endgame, Tony says he knows how he knows that Pym and Howard Stark are both at S.H.I.E.L.D. The date that he gives us, 04/07/0970, is either April 7th or July 4th, 1970. As an American movie written by American writers, we can assume that April 7th, 1970 is the date, considering it's completely innocuous. Why does Tony then know they were both at the base on that date? Presumably something happened that day. It could have been that that's the day that S.H.I.E.L.D. learned about the existence of mutants. Tony knew this from the files, IG meeting minutes, which included both Father and Pym. He'd read about them and decided to keep it a secret. Peggy's discussion with her aide outlines that they were working closely with someone called Braddock, who is a senior enough to be in their unit. He could have been an explorer or adventurer, as the Braddock's family certainly has that kind of wealth, not necessarily Brian, but perhaps his father. Whatever they were doing, their work was stopped by lightning strikes, which Peggy identifies as quote-unquote not lightning strikes. Could Braddock have encountered Storm? I think it's interesting that these subtitles are included in the movie. There is audio inaudible in the movie, so to add them seems like an odd decision when it's potentially a breadcrumb and or Easter egg left for fans. Now, this is a great thought out theory, and it's true. When you think of lightning strikes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's really only 2 people that come to mind: Thor and Storm, and without it being Thor, which we'll get back to, Storm is obviously the first name that comes to mind. And I really like the fact that he points out that if this is just some random date in the 1970s and Tony Stark went out of his way to say, "I know why I know," then something might have happened that day, and he did have access to a ton of files, as we found out during the original Iron Man movies when he shouts out projects like Pegasus and Exodus. Now, without focusing on why this could or couldn't be mutants in the MCU, we do know that Tony likes to keep tabs on a lot of things. That's presumably how he found Spider-Man during Civil War, and considering the very palpable egocentrism displayed by Tony Stark throughout the entirety of these films, labeling him the savior and the one who needed to provide the world with a suit of armor against these threats, there's a very obvious connection as to why he'd want to keep dibs, like Nick Fury, on any of the superpowered beings on Earth in case he needed to go up against them and had already labeled them a threat. Doesn't mean mutants, but it does mean he was interested with everything going on that seemed to fit into his world that he might have to fight in the future. That's why he could know about this date if these lightning strikes were otherworldly, but not so fast and not Storm, as many of the immediate comments went to point out. And as we've covered here recently at the channel, there's a good chance Storm is going to be introduced in the upcoming Black Panther, and as many of you know, T'Challa's main love interest is Storm. Eventually they should be married in the MCU if they follow the comics. If that's to happen, her age would be way off by this timeline. If she's even a child during the 1970s, she'd be pushing or at 60 by the time she's introduced during Black Panther 2 on the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline. Unlikely that they're going to introduce any members of the X-Men already that old in the MCU, meaning this is most likely not Storm, even though lightning strikes are at play. Now, as another Redditor went to comment and point out, and I really like this, there is a good chance that it could have been Brian's father or Brian's grandfather, and that this is the initial meeting with Merlin, not Brian Braddock just yet. And as you recall, Brian Braddock's sister is none other than Psylocke. Why this is important is the same reason it couldn't be Storm. If that's actually Brian Braddock, then that means by the time Psylocke gets introduced on this timeline, even if she's younger than her brother, that's still going to make her rather old. And again, same goes for Captain Britain. I don't see why they would go ahead and make any of these characters older age when we have such a long road ahead of us in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think more likely the case than either of these, though, is that this is exactly what it looks like, an Easter egg for Thor being present on that day. Now, I went back and watched Thor 1, and with Coulson's dialogue and interrogation of Thor, it doesn't seem that they already know who he is, or maybe that's just them playing dumb and seeing if he'll admit that he's an Asgardian and they already know about him. The reason and thinking for this is actually because of a theory that's already been circulated in the last year or so here since Avengers Endgame was released, and that's that Loki is actually in the background during one of these scenes in the 1970s, and if Loki is present on that day, what would follow is that Thor might be right behind him trying to hunt him for either the Tesseract or what we haven't seen go down yet already in his upcoming Disney Plus series. Now, whether or not you believe that that is Loki indeed in the background during Avengers Endgame, maybe somehow he lost the Tesseract and he's on this base for the same reason that Tony Stark and Steve Rogers are, to get another Tesseract. What we do know, given the only official concept art that we've seen for the Loki series, is that it is set to take place during the 70s. Again, all the theories aside, this is the only concept art that we've seen. You can see it from the style of cars, you can see it from the style of clothes, and might I mention that this little blob of Loki looks a lot like the one we just saw? Either way, the thing you can make out that places it in the 70s 100% is the word Jaws on the marquee, which was released during 1975. So theories or not, he's going to be in the 70s at some point, and I think it's interesting that they went ahead and seeded this lightning strike sort of Easter egg there, because we do know, given most recent news and what's already happened in the last 2 or 3 years over at Marvel Studios, that they are heavily consulting theoretical physicists and or time travel specialists to make sure they're doing time travel right in their portrayal. And one of the things you have as a clear hallmark of time travel is loops. So if you can go ahead and seed one of these loops in there when we get to see Thor return to the 70s chasing his brother Loki, then we'll have already had this happen during Avengers Endgame, and that sort of stuff is the quality that you come to expect from Marvel Studios when and if they ever decided to do something crazy like time travel in the first place. Guys, let me know all your thoughts and comments down below. Who do you think this most likely is, considering the logic with Storm here, unless they're going to make her super old in the MCU? And don't say, hey, she's going to age differently because she's a mutant. That's a specific mutant power only attributed to those who have it. Not all mutants age at a slower pace. Please don't say that's the case. Do you think that it's Thor, or could it be something or somebody else? I'm all ears down in the comments, and quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, the next of which is at the 700,000 subscriber mark. A lot of you have asked, and of course we will give away PlayStation 5s as soon as we have them in hand. but we're a long way off that right now. So in the meantime, PlayStation 4 Pros it is, the next of which at the 700,000 subscriber mark. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do hit the subscribe button, then the notification bell with notifications turned on, leave a like and a comment on this video, and that'll automatically enter you to win all the rest of the prizes like this insane 1/4 scale XM Studios Beta Ray Bill. This is a museum quality sculpted statue at 1/4 scale. That means he's almost a full 3 feet tall. If you want to be entered to win this, either of the PlayStations or the third Infinity Saga box set, guys, after these sold out during pre-order, the price on these has gone up exponentially since they are completely sold out. We've gotten our hands on the third and final one here at the channel. It'll be given away during the holiday season at the end of this year. To get in to win any of these, all you have to do, same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell. Make sure that notification's turned on so you can leave a like and comment on this video, and the more videos you like and comment on, the better chance you have of winning, because it's truly, truly random. All winners will be chosen and announced at the end of videos, just like we're doing here. And if you've missed any of the previous winner announcements, no worries. All you have to do is scroll back through the channel, look for the winner announcement in the sub count in the title, click on that video, and scroll to the end. Also, if you've noticed, I've started streaming on Twitch under Nvellen, NVELLEN. You definitely don't need to follow over there. There's very limited, if any, Marvel content yet. We will do a show or two over there eventually, but for now, if you want to get to know me better, or if you're into World of Warcraft, you can follow me over there. It's definitely a chance for you to connect to me on a more one-to-one basis than we do actually get to here at the YouTube channel. Guys, thanks so much for checking it out. My name's Michael Roman, and if you stick around, we'll be posting again real soon.